So recently, I have observed questions like this go viral all over the internet. There have been people posting these questions on social media like Facebook and LinkedIn, and the response to those questions has been really enormous. I have seen, up to 600 or 700 people responding to questions like these, which seem very basic to begin with. But then what really astounded me was over half of the people actually got these questions wrong. So I decided to make a video, exploring, some of these questions and what's intriguing about these questions and why so many people may get some of these questions wrong, even though these should be so very basic. So let's start with these two expressions, right? So the first one is 7 minus 7 divided by 7 plus 7. And the second one is 7 multiplied by 7 divided by 7 multiplied by 7. So I'll start with the first expression and I'll show why people get these kind of expressions wrong. What's their method that leads to the wrong answer in the first place. So we are naturally used to reading from left to right. So when we start evaluating these expressions, one natural tendency for some of us would be to start evaluating these from left to right, just like we read a text. And if we do that in this case, we have 7 minus 7, that's 0. 0 divided by 7, that's 0. And then you add 7, and then end up with an answer of 7, which is what, over half of the people would probably answer this question. And that's unfortunately the wrong answer in this case. So what's going on with these? So what would be the correct way to approach it? Well, let's look at the expression again. So there is a rule which have been taught, I think maybe in the first grade or the second grade, and it's called PEMDAS, and in some countries it might be referred to as BODMAS. And essentially what PEMDAS is, it specifies a specific order in which the operations on expressions like these need to be done. And P stands for parenthesis, E for exponent, M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, and S for subtraction. And what this PEMDAS rule states here is, looking at this particular expression, since we have division, addition and subtraction, the division will take priority. So that will take precedence over the subtraction and addition operations, meaning that when we start evaluating this expression, we'll have to first perform the division. So 7 divided by 7 is where we start. And that's 1. So now we have 7 minus 1 plus 7. And here we can, go in our natural fashion from left to right. So we start with 7 minus 1, that's 6, and 6 plus 7, the final answer is 13, which is the correct answer in this case. Now, PEMDAS, although it might appear like a rule, has to be taken very carefully, rather interpreted very carefully, because sometimes going blindly by the PEMDAS sequence may actually lead us to the wrong answer. And I'll show that with the second example that I have up here, which is 7 multiplied by 7 divided by 7 multiplied by 7. So if I am, trying to evaluate this by the PEMDAS rule. So the PEMDAS, remember, M stands for multiplication and then D stands for division. So if I assume that multiplication will take priority, in this case, so we have, two multiplications here, and we perform those first. So that gives us 49 divided by 49, which leads to an answer of 1. And that's actually the wrong answer in this case. So why is that? This is because when the expressions have operations that are only multiplication or division, then our best approach is to go our natural way of evaluating the expressions from left to right in that sequence. So we need not worry about doing multiplication first versus doing division first, because all we got in terms of operations here are multiplication and division. So we can start in our natural fashion, start with the left. So first do this 7 multiplied by 7, that's 49. Then do this one, 49 divided by 7, that's 7. So we get 7 multiplied by 7, and the answer is 49, which in this case is the correct answer. So let's look at another example. So this time we have multiplication and division, but there's a parenthesis. And this is where it's useful to remember that by PEMDAS, parenthesis takes precedence. So we have to first do the operation that's within the parenthesis. So we have to first do that multiplication. So that comes to 49. So we have 7 multiplied by 7 divided by 49. So now our operations are either multiplication or division. So we can go in the natural way from left to right. We evaluate 7 multiplied by 7. So that's 49. 49 divided by 49. And that comes to 1, which is the correct answer here. Now let's look at a slightly more complicated expression. So we have a number of operations here, like subtraction, division, multiplication, and we also have a parenthesis. And we have to always remember that parenthesis comes first. So we have to first address the operations within parenthesis. Now, in this particular case, within the parenthesis, we have a mixture of different operations. So addition, division, subtraction, multiplication. Now we look at the clusters of the expressions that have the combination of division and multiplication, or just division. So those two are underlined here. So that's the one where we start with when we evaluate the expression within the parenthesis. So 7 divided by 7 gives us 1, and 2 multiplied by 2 gives us 4. So we are left with 7 plus 1 minus 4 divided by 2. Now, again, look, the parenthesis is still on. So we have to evaluate the expression within the parenthesis. And now we have within the parenthesis addition, subtraction, division. And again, going by PEMDAS, division takes priority. So to first do the division, that's 4 divided by 2, and that's 2. So now within the parenthesis, we have 7 plus 1 minus 2. Now, within the parentheses, we are just left with addition and subtraction. So there is no mixture of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And whenever that's the case, it's simple. Just go your natural way of evaluating the expression from left to right. But remember, we are still within the parenthesis, right? So we have to complete the evaluation within the parentheses. We start by 7 plus 1, that's 8. And then we evaluate 8 minus 2, that's still within the parentheses, and that comes to 6. So the final answer is 14 minus 6, which is 8. And that's the correct answer in this case. So just some tips and tricks that I wanted to share. I mean, the PEMDAS is great, but like we saw, it can be sometimes confusing, especially when you're trying to, decide precedence over multiplication and division, and all you've got in your expression is just multiplication, division. It can sometimes actually lead you to the wrong answer. So this is my, set of tips and tricks for evaluating expressions like these. So first, you have to perform operations within parentheses. So prioritize parentheses, right? So that's kind of a very important thing to remember. But once that is done, or if there's no parenthesis in your expression to begin with, then one thing that you have to note is whether you have a mixture of addition, subtraction, and multiplication, division. And if that's the case, then perform the operations involving multiplication, division first, starting from your natural way of reading things from left to right. So you start evaluating from left to right. And then if we have only addition, subtraction operations, or to begin with, you didn't have any addition, subtraction, but only multiplication, division operations, then simply perform the operations in order from left to right. So you need not worry about a particular sequence. So that's kind of my 2 cents regarding these viral questions that I saw on the internet, which really seemed to be like quite basic. Yet I thought it was worth to make a video since I saw so many people interested in answering these questions and also so many people actually getting it wrong.